we have people from all backgrounds who come and learn dance from us. And every class we talk about what language that song is from, what kind of style it is, what part of South Asia it is from. There is some sort of small educational piece to it. And I think creating such spaces is very important, where people from all ethnicities, all backgrounds come in and learn.
You are listening to Our Urban Voices with Dr. Alphonse Javed, a podcast that presents Christian narratives through diverse voices that impact urban ministry. Here is your host.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alphonse Javed. Over the past year, we have had so many amazing guests on the show. We have talked about everything from chess ministry to immigration, urban missions to cricket, and gentrification to dance. We have heard so many stories of how God is working in urban settings, in Muslim contexts, and around the world. Every week, we share a new episode highlighting an important voice we believe deserves to be heard. But this month, we will be resharing our most popular episodes. Even if you have already heard them, we believe you can still learn something new. Please enjoy.
Hello, welcome back to our Urban Voices. I'm your host, Dr. Alphonse Javed. Today, I'm joined by the Executive Director and Founder of the South Asian Art and Theater House, Divya Maiya. Our conversation today is going to be slightly different from most episodes, as we are going to focus on South Asia dance and why people in the US should care about it. Many South Asians live in cities like New York City, where I used to live up until last August, and now I am living in New Jersey. I see here a lot of South Asians too. So dance is such a big part of South Asian culture. Before we jump in, a little bit about Divya. Like I said, she is the executive director of the South Asian Art and Theater House in Minneapolis. Divya is also a content creator with just under 60,000 followers on Instagram, where she shares videos of her dancing and wearing a sari in non-traditional places, such as skiing under the hashtag SarreeAdventures. Thank you so much for being here, Divya.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
To start out, South Asia is a huge place with many languages and cultures. Let's narrow down what South Asian and South Asian dance means for the purpose of this interview, especially for our Western audience.
Yeah, South Asia is all the countries of Indian subcontinent, and it's India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and many countries that come under the Indian subcontinent. And South Asian dance is all the dance forms that are included or originated from these countries. And it can be any of the classical dance forms, any of the cinematic dance forms, any of the folk music and dance. So it's a very broad variety, and it has a very rich history from where it originates and comes from.
Thank you so much. Let's jump in now. What would you say in the cultural significance of dance in South Asia?
Dance, I think dance has a huge place in South Asia. Dance has historically been a way to bring communities together, to exchange that art of expression and just bring so much joy to people. And I think historically, people have been dancing for, at weddings, at festivals, at outside, a community gathering. And just dance is a very integral part of South Asian history.
That's awesome. And I am so happy for this conversation because my wife loves Bhangra. And she actually took me to, there was a studio in the Bronx. So we went there for one of my, I think it was my birthday or something. She was very excited for that. So yeah. South Asia can be very divided, right? Look at Pakistan, India. However, I like to ask you if you think dance can build bridges. I know I'm not trying to be political, just so you know. If you think dance can build bridges across these divides, for example, I'm from Punjab in Pakistan, but the Punjab region where Punjabi is spoken and there is a shared cultural heritage such as the Bhangra, Punjabi dance extends on both sides of the Pak-India border. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think dance and any art form for that matter is a huge, it builds bridges. It builds bridges in so many different ways. And art has always been used as a form of activism to bring out a lot of like topics on social issues and with a big intention of bringing people together. And yeah, India, Pakistan is one such example. And Bhangra, you mentioned, is originated from that region of Punjab, which belongs to both India and Pakistan, which was one region before, right? And I think there are several similar stories like that. I was just reading recently, I did a small, dance reel on the Siddhi community very specifically in Karnataka. So that's what I did a dance on. And I learned so much more about the community itself, which is an African descent tribal community that is spread across regions of Karnataka, Gujarat, and also in Pakistan. And they have this really powerful storytelling through music and dance that they have used as a tool to pass on that story of what happened to that community from generations before, and the oppression and the celebration and everything weaved into the music and dance. So I think just preserving that and continuing that itself is, art changes everything, is what I believe in. And that's one big example. Using these dance forms and kind of like practicing these here in the West with people, and I think America especially gives us a huge opportunity to even interact with people from within India, within Indian subcontinent, within South Asia, from different regions who can, come together. And I've learned Bhangra from people from Punjab. I am from South India, and I have taught South Indian dance forms to a lot of people from the north of India. I've learned Nepali dance. We just learned a Bangladeshi song and dance recently. So it's such a huge opportunity to have this cultural exchange. And when we're doing that dance, we never think of, where you're from, where, what is your background? You're a group of people who are enjoying that dance form, and you're just, teaching each other and just creating this global community without any biases.
Divya, you hit some really big areas of our world. The crisis in our world can be resolved because of those concepts that you brought up. One, you talked about global community. You talk about cross-cultural, right? Cross-cultural communication, cross-cultural global community. But then I'm thinking about also in terms of building bridges, and this is something I think politicians can also learn, and religious leaders can learn from different cultures. Is that certain things in our culture tell us the story of the people group. So I'm thinking about, I did not know African descents were there in Indo-Pak, right? So there is a great invitation. There's an invitation for anthropological studies to kind of like even go back and look at that and connect those dots. But for me personally, I think it's just interesting that how you are going from South Indian, you're South Indian, right?
I'm from Bangalore.
Right. And you are teaching and learning from the North Indian community. So there's a connection, teaching and learning. So you're giving and taking. So that's mutual something going on. So let me bring that to the United States and in the West. So what would you say in the current viewpoint of South Asian dance in the US right now? What would you say? Where are we?
Like Indian food, right? It's such a blanket statement. There's so many nuances to it. South Asian dance is exactly that. There's a lot of nuances to it. And I'm so glad and happy that Bhangra is getting that place, and people are able to differentiate between Bhangra and Bollywood, right?
Right.
And that's huge. That's really big, because Bhangra originates from a region which is where people would get together during, harvest festivals and in the fields. And that's how it originated. It tells a story of people from one particular region. But if you make that as a blanket, dance form as Indian dance, it doesn't, what does it mean, right? So that has to be demystified a little bit more. People should understand what is Indian dance, what is Bollywood, what are the elements that contribute to it, what is Kathak, what is Bharatanatyam, what is South Indian dance, and even South Indian dance is so broad, the term.
Correct.
United States North America has a huge Indian diaspora now. And there are lots of these regional groups, that are there preserving their language, preserving their art forms, preserving their cultures, because it's so nuanced. And I think what is for a vision, if you ask for what is a broader vision, I think all these communities should advocate more for that and bring awareness to a lot of these nuances in dance forms that Indian subcontinent has to offer for the West, because then that just makes it so much richer.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's how I see the United States. United States is a unique country. It's a country of people from other country. And when I think about myself, I'm Punjabi. So the other day I was talking to my 5 years old, and my oldest son is 5. So their mom is born and raised here. I'm the one who introduced her to simple spices. I mean, she never had ginger, right? Garlic. So now Pakistani or Indian food, northern Pakistani Indian food is her favorite food in the world. But with that also, I have a challenge because I am first generation immigrant, and I'm sure many of the listeners can relate with that. My fear is my son, who is going to be the second generation, right? When he was by himself, I used to speak in Urdu with him. And then second one came along, so I lost that because now mommy's speaking English, everybody's speaking English, so I stopped. Now my girls are there. I have twin girls too. So these are some of those ways, I think, if there is a place where people are doing, my son loves dance. And when I told him that, daddy is Pakistani, and in Pakistan, I'm Punjabi. I'm in Punjab, I'm Lahori. I'm Lahori, Punjabi, Pakistani. So you are too. And I think in the United States, totally agree with you. I hope and I pray more people do cultural things and do more regional cultural thing. Don't just put them in that broad category. So I feel more connected when people say Punjabi than South Asian. When we say India or Pakistan, suddenly there is a resistance, right? You gotta, so Pakistani guys, got their pride and Indians got their pride. But when you say Punjabi, I do not know why, but suddenly it brings us together. I do not know why.
Exactly.
That's something so different. And then I take pride in Punjabi. I used to be embarrassed of Punjabi dance, but not anymore because it's unique. It's different.
And it's so fun.
Right.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And I think it's for so long because it's dominated by Bollywood dance or the way they dance. So it feels like, they are superior dance because that is in the movie. But now I also think it's nice that regional groups are doing something. Okay, so do you think this viewpoint needs to change anytime? The way, I think the current one is just putting a blanket statement for all of that region. So,
I think what needs to change is an understanding or awareness about there's so much more to that region, to that place that you're coming from. And I think that will only happen when we have spaces like SAATH, for example, where it's a place where people can come in and understand those differences, because we have people from all backgrounds who come and learn dance from us. And every class we talk about what language that song is from, what kind of style it is, what part of South Asia it is from. There is some sort of small educational piece to it. And I think creating such spaces is very important, where people from all ethnicities, all backgrounds come in and learn and just get richer in your knowledge base.
Yeah. And I think it also removes those
stereotypes or,
Correct.
usually part of, when we say Pakistani, suddenly everybody thinks, so I'm a Pakistani Christian, right? But no matter where I am, people, when I say Pakistani,
Just
people just,
assume it.
they immediately think
Yeah.
I'm Muslim and I must be up to something no good. I do not know. That's just the perception. And I think, but when you are reaching them from a perspective, I'm Punjabi and Bhangra, suddenly like, oh, okay, so he's talking
Yeah,
about
none of the religious things come in play.
exactly right, because it's a fun thing when because people, that's another stereotype, because a religion, being religious means you can't have fun. But
Yeah.
when you think that somebody's having fun, dance is related to fun, having fun. So fun mean that must not be religious. So that's another layer of stereotype
Right.
or
That
just
is
the
true.
worldview, right? It's insane. So
Yeah.
going off that, tell us the reasoning behind your SarreeAdventures. Skiing in a sari is really cool, but I don't know how
I
people
think
do that. So tell us more about that.
I have been skiing for a long time, so just doing it in sari was not hard for me. But I think what a takeaway from that is just being in United States. Like you said, there are a lot of stereotypes of, in general in the world. I feel like when you wear a sari, there is a stereotype of maybe you don't speak English, or you don't know more, or something, that there is some sort of like,
Or you can't ski,
or you
right?
can't ski. Exactly. I was getting to that. Or you can't do that. Right. And that was one reason to like be seen in like untraditional spaces and wearing your traditional outfits and just breaking that stereotype right there and squashing it. Second thing is, you don't see a lot of people of color on mountains. First of all, it's an accessibility issue. It's extremely expensive. I understand my privilege that I get to go skiing because it's an expensive sport and it's not accessible to a lot of people. But I think with that comes an assumption, or people don't see people of, of your origin or your color even on slopes. So it's once you wear a sari, like all eyes are on you. It's just capturing that attention to like say that, hey, there are a lot of people of color in this space that are sharing the same space as you are. And that immediately, there are so many people who stop by and say, I love what you're wearing. People know that it's a sari and they give me a compliment. Sometimes people stop by and ask what I'm wearing. So I think that's also brings in that educational piece of, what am I wearing? What is this garment? Where does it come from? And why is it important? And maybe people go home and, and because the video got viral, it was just so overwhelming to see such positive comments that I didn't even think that that was the kind of emotion that this video would bring in a lot of people. And I'm talking about a lot of first generation kids growing up here, not getting to see a lot of their traditional wear being worn in, in their schools or colleges or, places that they go out, which makes it a little more, uncomfortable or embarrassing for them to wear. Seeing that video, a lot of people said, it reminds me of my grandparents, and just tells me that I can do this more often and I should be more proud to be wearing a sari and walking around in spaces. So I think those are all so powerful.
Yeah, and I totally see their point, because when you are a first generation immigrant, you're trying to fit in a new culture. Assimilation is taking place. There are a lot of things on your mind, and the last thing you want to hear is that, oh, you don't speak, or you wearing this thing. So it's an embarrassing thing. But second generation and third generation, they are Americans. They are from here, and when they see something like, oh, I missed on something, he never said. So when my boy wears salwar kameez, they just had a cultural day. He was very proud of it. My wife went, she found for both boys. They were very happy. And I don't even remember when I wore salwar kameez last time. So I think that is important, to give them pride in their heritage. But also, I think it speaks on a very different level. You are not saying, but I'm just saying for the sake of our audience, because I have done a lot of podcasts on social justice, racial injustice in our country.
And I think when you doing these kind of things, it also removes that, it combats that kind of mentality, that kind of racial restrictions or racial injustice in certain area. And I think that's a very soft and beautiful way to take pride. And that's why it takes a lot of courage. Recently, one of the person on my Twitter, she was asking to the rest of the people too that she's Afghan. She got here and there was Heritage Day too. So she wanted to wear Afghan traditional clothes. And I was like, go for it. People love it. Because when I was in college, my friends loved it. And they actually wore that too. So you're going to always find haters, but always you're going to find there's so much more support.
I agree. For every negative comment, you have 10 positive comments.
Right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, keep making the difference. This is awesome. So switching gears, what led you to start the South Asian Arts and the Theater House, and what has its reception been like? Yeah.
So I started with a couple of my friends. We started SAATH, which was previously known as Bollywood dance scene. And I came to Minnesota and I did not have a lot of friends. As an adult, it's so hard to meet people and make friendships. And I was seeking that out and went to a lot of different dance places, took a lot of dance classes. And then I was thinking, like, what can I offer to do this? And like I mentioned before to you, there are lots of regional groups around here. So I could have opted for going to, this Karnataka Association or from the region I come from. But I'm in United States and I am here to be a part of this community. So I was also seeking a broader community where I could interact with and learn from people from different backgrounds. And that was one of the reasons that I started teaching first. And then we created a small group, and it started as a small performing group. And then we turned into a nonprofit because of how much interest there was in dance. And more than that, people just like me were seeking the same thing, a sense of community, a home away from home, especially for immigrants who move here and who are left feeling like they don't know anybody. It's hard to make friends, assimilate. And so a lot of other people who came to our dance classes were also coming with the same intention. And today, this is our 8th year of SAATH. And in between, we rebranded to call ourselves SAATH because of the people who made up SAATH, because it was no longer just Bollywood. It was no longer dance alone. It was a very big focus on community. It was a very big focus on all the people that made up that organization and inclusive of non-Indians as well. So we have a huge group of people now. We have around 200 people who we call as our community, our SAATH community, from different places of India, from first generations, different regions of South Asia, a lot of Americans, and even Americans who moved to Minnesota are also seeking the same thing, like a community that they can practice art with.
Yeah. Toward the end, you said that even non-Asians are participating in the theater house performances, right? So have you ever gotten any complaint of cultural appropriation? And if so, how do you address that?
Appropriation is when people take something from your culture without understanding the culture aspect of it, or without actually contributing or speaking positively of your culture, right? But people who are a part of SAATH are a part of SAATH because they know our mission, they know our values, they know we are all constantly learning from each other. And if I'm talking about doing Bhangra, then am I culturally, appropriating it because I'm not from the region of Punjab, right? And it's the same thing for me because I'm so passionate about dancing and I learn from people from those regions. My co-founder, Jinal, is from the region of Gujarat, and she is an amazing dancer as well. And she's the one who teaches me Garba. And I'm learning from people who know that dance form and who have been raised amidst those dance forms and cultures. So I think when you do that, you get a deeper level of understanding of that culture, and it becomes an appropriation.
I love it. So there's a appreciation for the
Yes.
culture. Therefore, you want to learn.
Exactly.
Very sober response. Very sober response. So in summary, what's the main takeaway that you want to leave the audience with?
I think our biggest thing is, if you're an immigrant here in the United States and you're like seeking for a community, just go to any of your cultural organizations. Bring yourself there. Especially one thing that is constantly playing on my mind is a lot of people, especially women, come here on visas, and I'm thinking of like dependent visas as well, where they come in and there's absolutely no way for them to make connections with people, right? Because they can't work, they're just homebound, and they're so dependent on the partners. And it is, for mentally, it's exhausting, it's taking a toll, and there's a lot of mental health issues. And I think creating spaces like SAATH and creating a sense of community where you are, if you have something to give to the community, please go ahead and do that, because there are so many people seeking out that connection. And I think you're going to be doing a lot by offering that to people. And like I mentioned before, art is a huge game changer, and it is very fun, but it is a very unintimidating way to bring awareness to a lot of social issue topics. It's a lot of, bridging the cultural gaps and calling out on, social justice topics. It's a very powerful tool, and come be a part of it.
Yeah, and I love the positive aspect of this approach to address stereotype or not even stereotype. I think it's beyond that. In New York City,
I think once you start meeting and interacting with people, the stereotypes automatically get squashed, because you are now humanizing that, and you're seeing it from inside versus being an observer from outside. So
this is so cool, because my wife is because she's married to a non-American person, so she has seen from inside how hard I had to try to go to school, learn and excel and all that. So we had another friend. He was from West African country, and he has a really thick accent. And we were having conversation with another friend of ours, and that friend said like about this and that, and then she got on his case. I mean, this friend's case. She's like, okay, do you even know how many languages that guy speaks? And yet on top of those languages, he speaks English, and I have no problem understanding that guy. And I'm just sitting there listening to her defending this mutual friend of ours, because she got a total different perspective. Because on average, any American, an average, they don't speak more than one language. And here you get, the example I'm giving, my wife's example, because she got to see from the inside different type of communities, because I'm friend with all kind of ethnic groups. So she has a very different understanding and appreciation. And when she defended that way for the very first time, I thought that, that's interesting. I never thought that, because I supposed to learn English because I came to this country. But her point of view was, well, what you have done other than being born in here and having the language already, because this guy was speaking French, and there were 2 other languages he spoke on top of that from his ethnic groups, and then he was speaking English, and his English was really good English. And you're right. I think that will break down some of these issues. So great advice. Let me ask you, if the listeners want to learn more about South Asian dance, where do you recommend they start?
Look out for local arts organizations and be involved. I would definitely suggest to be involved in nonprofit organizations, because they're always seeking out volunteers. There is so much work, and it's so hard to run a nonprofit. And SAATH is a 501c3 nonprofit organization.
Perfect.
So I know from running it for so long, we always need people. So
how should they get in touch with you and your organization? What are the easiest ways?
We have a presence on social media. Our website is saathmn.org, and our social media handles are at SaathMN. That's SAATHMN. And we are very active on Instagram. We have YouTube presence, and we share a lot of dance videos and a lot of instruction videos, which are free. So go watch them, learn there, and donate to
Absolutely.
our organization or any of the nonprofit arts cultural organizations, because they're definitely making a difference in the world.
Yeah, I was about to mention that too. So don't forget, 501c3 means it's a organization that run by donations. We're going to put all this information in the episode's description. So as we are getting ready to wrap it up, tell me quickly about your family and finish with a joke.
I am not a joke teller, but I'll see. My family is here in Minneapolis, and my brother and sister-in-law also live close by. And I also have to mention that my SAATH family is my huge family here. It's a family of friends, and we celebrate everything together. And it's been fantastic.
And the joke?
And a joke, I don't know what a joke. I can tell you, like, one of the comments of when I posted my Saree skiing video recently, TikTok put this banner which says actions in this video are performed by professionals. And I just looked at it and I laughed. I was like, don't try this at home. It was funny.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was such a wonderful conversation. And thank you for doing what you're doing and spreading a lot of awareness about South Asians in the world. Thank you so much.
You. Again, that was Divya Maiya from South Asian Arts and Theater House. And thank you to all our listeners. If you appreciate the podcast, please be sure to subscribe to the show and leave an honest review wherever you listen to your podcast. Tune in next week for more honest discussions from diverse voices.
You've been listening to Our Urban Voices with Dr. Alphonse Javed, which presents Christian narratives through diverse voices that impact urban ministry. Please check back for new episodes every week.